The desert sun rose slowly over the golden sands, painting the horizon with shades of orange and red. Arya adjusted the brim of her wide hat and shaded her eyes against the harsh light. She had traveled far to reach this place, a remote valley, near the Nile, where few had dared to explore. Ancient stories spoke of a sealed crypt hidden somewhere in the dunes, a tomb that had remained untouched for thousands of years. Many had dismissed it as a legend, but Arya felt a spark of curiosity that she could not ignore. Arya was young but determined. From the moment she had studied the maps of Egypt, she had felt a special connection to the forgotten corners of history. She carried a small notebook, worn and filled with sketches and notes, along with her camera and tools for excavation. Her companions, Tariq and Minna, walked beside her, carrying supplies and equipment. Tariq was an experienced guide who knew the desert like the back of his hand, while Minna was an expert in ancient scripts and symbols. Together, they formed a team ready to uncover secrets that had been hidden for centuries. As they walked across the shifting sands, Arya's eyes caught a glimpse of something unusual. A stone, half buried in the sand, seemed to bear an engraving. She knelt to examine it more closely. The markings were strange, different from the hieroglyphs she had studied before. Minna knelt beside her, brushing sand carefully from the surface. These symbols, I have never seen them, Minna said, her voice filled with both excitement and caution. They are old, very old, but they also tell a story, a warning maybe. Arya traced the lines with her fingers. The symbols seemed to show a figure standing before a grand door, and there were tiny figures kneeling around it. Something about the image gave her a shiver. It looks like this could be part of the entrance, Arya said. If we follow the path these symbols suggest, we might find the tomb. Tariq adjusted his scarf around his neck and looked at the horizon. We have to be careful. Legends say that many who enter these valleys never return. Sandstorms can come without warning, and the desert hides dangers beyond our knowledge. Arya smiled, though the tension in her chest remained. We will be careful, but we cannot turn back now. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. The team continued, following the path suggested by the symbols and Arya's careful readings of old maps. The journey was difficult. The sand shifted beneath their feet, and the wind carried tiny grains that stung their skin. Yet, with each step, Arya felt closer to the hidden history she longed to uncover. By midday, they reached a plateau overlooking a series of cliffs and valleys. From this height, Arya could see patterns in the sand that hinted at man-made structures beneath. Her heart beat faster. Look there, she said, pointing to a shadowed area where the dunes seemed to dip unnaturally. Something is hidden. There, Tariq squinted. It could be a natural formation, or it could be what you were looking for. Only one way to find out. They carefully descended toward the shadows, taking slow steps to avoid disturbing the fragile ground. As they approached, they noticed a faint outline in the sand, a rectangular shape, partially buried, suggested the presence of stone beneath. Arya's hands trembled with excitement as she knelt to brush away the sand. It was a stone door. Smooth and solid, it bore carvings that glimmered faintly in the sunlight. Hieroglyphs covered the surface, telling a story that Arya could not yet fully understand. At the center was a symbol that matched the one from the stone they had found earlier. She pressed her palm against it, feeling the coldness of the stone beneath her fingers. This is it, Arya whispered. We have found the entrance. Minna ran her fingers over the inscriptions. These symbols warn of a curse, she said. They speak of danger for those who disturb the tomb. But there is also something else, something hidden. The story is incomplete. The tomb is guarding a secret, Arya nodded. That is why we are here, to learn the truth, to uncover what history has kept hidden. As they prepared to investigate further, the sun began to dip toward the horizon. Shadows stretched across the desert, and the wind whispered through the rocks. The valley seemed to hold its breath, as if it were waiting to see what the intruders would do. Arya felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was a place untouched for thousands of years, a world of mystery and forgotten stories. They set up a small camp nearby, careful not to disturb the sight. Tariq built a fire while Minna examined more fragments of the stone with symbols. Arya sat quietly, writing in her notebook, sketching the door, and recording every detail. She felt connected to the past in a way she had never felt before. The pharaoh who had built this tomb had lived long ago, but through these stones, his story still reached out to her. Night fell, and the desert sky became a blanket of stars. The team sat around the fire, speaking softly. They shared stories of past adventures and discoveries, but always the stone door remained in their thoughts. Each crack, each carving, seemed to hold a message meant only for those brave enough to understand it. Arya could not sleep. She lay on her bedroll, staring at the sky, thinking about what they might find. Would the tomb contain treasures, or something more dangerous? Legends spoke of curses, but Arya believed that knowledge was worth the risk. The secrets of the past had waited long enough. Now it was their turn to uncover them. As the night deepened, a gentle wind rose, carrying the scent of sand and stone. Arya imagined the pharaoh watching from beyond time, guarding his tomb, protecting his secret. She whispered a silent promise to respect whatever they found. Tomorrow, they would enter the crypt and face the mystery that had been sealed for centuries. For now, under the vast, star-filled sky, Arya felt a quiet thrill. The adventure was only beginning, and history was waiting to reveal its darkest secret. The desert was alive with possibility, and the story of the sealed crypt was about to unfold. The morning sun cast long shadows across the desert as Arya and her team prepared to explore the stone door they had discovered. The fire from their camp had burned low, leaving only glowing embers, and the air was still, carrying the faint scent of sand and stone. Arya tightened the straps on her backpack and checked her tools one more time. Every item had a purpose: brushes, chisels, ropes, lamps, and notebooks filled with sketches. Today, they would take the first steps into history. Tariq led the way, carefully brushing away the sand at the base of the door. The stone beneath was smooth but marked with faint scratches and inscriptions. Minna knelt beside him, her fingers tracing the carved symbols. She looked up at Arya with a mixture of excitement and caution. "These carvings are warnings," she said. "They tell of danger for anyone who disturbs the tomb. But they also speak of knowledge, something the pharaoh wanted to protect at all costs." Arya nodded. "We must be careful," she said. "But we cannot turn back. This is why we came here." Slowly, they worked to clear the sand and small stones from around the door. The carvings grew clearer as they removed more of the covering layers. The symbols depicted scenes of a pharaoh standing before a great hall, surrounded by figures who seemed to guard something hidden. One figure held a key-like object, pointing toward the center of the door. Arya realized that the tomb had been carefully designed to challenge anyone who dared to enter. With steady hands, Tariq examined the edges of the door. "It is massive," he said, "and heavy. We must find a way to open it without damaging the stone." Arya studied the symbols once more, looking for clues. After several minutes, her eyes focused on a pattern she had not noticed before. There were small depressions in the stone that matched the shape of her tools. With careful precision, she placed the tools in the depressions and pressed. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a low rumble, the stone shifted slightly. Dust fell from the cracks, and a faint beam of sunlight illuminated the edge of the doorway. The door had moved. It was only a small shift, but it was enough to give them hope. "We are on the right track," Arya whispered, her heart pounding. With excitement, Tariq and Minna began to work together to widen the opening, using ropes and levers. They slowly moved the stone, inch by inch. The effort was exhausting under the hot desert sun, but their determination was stronger than their fatigue. At last, the massive door creaked open just enough to reveal a dark passage beyond. A cold, still air escaped from the crypt, carrying the faint smell of earth and age. Arya held up a lamp and stepped forward. The light flickered against the walls, revealing intricate carvings and murals. The passage was narrow, with smooth stone floors and walls covered in symbols. Some of the symbols were familiar, depicting gods and rituals. While others were unlike anything Arya had seen before, she traced them with her fingers. Careful not to damage the ancient artwork. Minna studied the carvings closely. These symbols tell a story, she said softly. The pharaoh built this tomb not only to protect himself but to guard a secret. The story ends with a warning: only those who are brave and wise can see what lies ahead. Tariq adjusted his scarf around his face as he led the way deeper into the passage. We must move slowly, he said. The desert may not forgive mistakes, and neither might this tomb. As they moved forward, the air grew cooler and heavier. The walls seemed to close in, and the only sound was the soft echo of their footsteps. Arya felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Every step brought them closer to history, but also closer to the unknown. She thought of the pharaoh who had built this crypt. What had he feared so much that he sealed it so carefully? What was the secret hidden within these walls? After several minutes, they reached a small chamber. The room was square, with a low ceiling and walls covered in murals depicting the pharaoh's life. There were scenes of ceremonies, battles, and offerings to the gods. In the center of the room stood a large stone pedestal, carved with symbols that glimmered faintly in the lamplight. Arya approached the pedestal and studied the carvings. This is a message, she said. The pharaoh wanted anyone who entered to understand something important before going further. We must read and interpret it carefully. Minna knelt and began translating the inscriptions. It speaks of loyalty and betrayal, of power and fear, she said. The pharaoh trusted only a few. Those who sought his secrets were warned. The tomb is a test. Tariq looked around the chamber, his eyes alert. A test that could be dangerous, he said. We should proceed carefully. Traps, hidden doors, or other dangers could be ahead. Arya nodded, feeling both nervous and determined. We have come this far, she said. We cannot turn back now. The truth waits for us inside. They explored the chamber, examining every corner and carving. Some symbols depicted strange creatures and guardians, while others showed the pharaoh in shadowy scenes, hinting at a story that was not told in any history book. Arya realized that this tomb had been designed not only to protect treasure but also to hide a secret that could change the understanding of the pharaoh's reign. As they prepared to move to the next passage, a faint sound echoed through the chamber. It was soft at first, like the whisper of wind through stone, but then it grew clearer. The walls seemed to hum, and the air vibrated with an almost invisible energy. The team froze, listening intently. It is the tomb itself, Arya whispered. It is warning us. Tariq tightened his grip on his staff. Warnings are one thing, he said. We must stay alert. Danger is near, but so is discovery. The team moved forward carefully, using their lamps to illuminate the path ahead. The passage narrowed, leading to another doorway covered in elaborate carvings. The symbols were more complex than anything they had seen before, showing scenes of judgment and guardians standing over hidden objects. Arya traced the symbols with her fingers, feeling a sense of awe and respect. This is incredible, she said. We are standing in a place that has not been seen by human eyes for thousands of years. Every step we take is history. Minna translated more of the inscriptions. The pharaoh trusted only those who were brave and intelligent. He created puzzles to protect a secret. We must solve them to continue. Tariq nodded. We can do this, but we must work together. One mistake could be dangerous. With careful teamwork, they examined the doorway, looking for hidden mechanisms or clues. Arya's eyes caught a small depression in the stone that matched a pattern in the murals. With her tools, she pressed the stones in the correct sequence. Slowly, the door began to shift, revealing a deeper chamber beyond. The air grew colder and heavier as they entered, and the flickering lamps cast long shadows across the walls. The crypt had revealed its first secret. It was more than a tomb. It was a carefully designed puzzle, a challenge for anyone who dared to uncover the truth. Arya took a deep breath and looked at her team. This is only the beginning, she said. The pharaoh's secret waits ahead. We must be ready for whatever we find. The three of them moved deeper into the tomb, leaving behind the sunlight and the desert. The shadows of the crypt surrounded them, and the sense of mystery grew stronger. History was alive here, and the story of the sealed crypt was beginning to unfold. The deeper Arya and her team moved into the crypt, the narrower and darker the passages became. The air was cool and thick with the scent of ancient stone and dust. Every step echoed softly, as if the tomb itself were listening to their movements. Arya's lamp flickered against the walls, revealing carvings that seemed to shift in the light. The hieroglyphs depicted scenes of people carrying offerings, strange ceremonies, and figures that appeared to guard hidden treasures. This passage is like a maze, Tariq whispered. It seems designed to confuse anyone who enters. We must stay close together. Arya nodded. The pharaoh wanted to protect his secret. The labyrinth is part of the test. We must be careful and observant. They turned a corner and found themselves in a larger chamber. The ceiling was high and arched, and the walls were covered in elaborate murals. One side showed the pharaoh receiving gifts from distant lands. Another side depicted battles, not just with armies, but with shadowy figures whose faces were hidden. Men crouched to examine the inscriptions, translating quietly as she traced the carvings with her fingers. These scenes are strange, she said. They tell a story of a ruler who made secret alliances. Some of the figures are not human. It is as if the pharaoh trusted only a few and kept others at a distance. Arya's eyes narrowed. This tomb was built not just to protect treasures, but to protect knowledge. Something important that could be dangerous if revealed. Tariq led the team to a doorway. At the far end of the chamber, the door was smaller than the first, but covered in intricate carvings that made it almost impossible to tell how it opened. Arya examined the wall next to it. She noticed a series of small symbols, arranged in a pattern that reminded her of a puzzle she had seen in another tomb. She took a deep breath, tracing the sequence with her finger. Look here, she said. These symbols must be pressed in the right order to open the door. The pharaoh left clues in the murals. Minna studied the walls closely. Yes, the sequence matches the actions in the paintings. If we follow them correctly, we can proceed. But one mistake could trigger a trap. Tariq tightened his grip on his staff. We should be very careful. The tomb is ancient and dangerous, but we can do this if we work together. With slow precision, Arya and Minna pressed the stones in the sequence suggested by the murals. At first, nothing happened. Then there was a soft click, followed by the grinding of stone. The doorway began to shift, opening just enough for them to pass through. A faint breeze came from the chamber beyond, carrying with it a smell of earth and time. Inside, the passage twisted and turned like a spiral. The walls were smooth and cold, and faint carvings of guardians and strange animals ran along the edges. The light from their lamps made the shadows dance across the stone, creating the feeling that the tomb itself was alive. This is incredible, Arya whispered. Every turn, every wall tells a story. The pharaoh wanted us to see this, to understand his life and the secret he protected. As they continued, the maze became more challenging. Some passages ended in dead ends. Others had small pits or loose stones that threatened to give way under their weight. Tariq carefully tested each step before they moved forward. Arya kept a steady hand on the wall, following the patterns of the carvings, while Minna translated the inscriptions to guide them. Hours seemed to pass as they navigated the labyrinth. The deeper they went, the more the carvings hinted at a secret hidden at the heart of the crypt. The murals showed the pharaoh in shadowed scenes, speaking to figures whose faces were hidden or masked. There were depictions of ceremonies, strange objects, and symbols that suggested protection and concealment. This is not just a tomb, Minna said softly. It is a message, a puzzle, and a warning. The pharaoh did not want anyone to reveal his secret without understanding the cost. Arya nodded. And now we are here. We must be patient, careful, and respectful. Only then can we uncover what has been hidden for so long. They reached a small chamber with a stone pedestal in the center. The pedestal had a carving of a key-like object, similar to the one they had seen on the first door. Round it were inscriptions that seemed to describe a challenge, a test of knowledge and courage. Arya carefully examined the symbols. The pharaoh wanted to make sure that only those who were worthy could reach the secret, she said. This pedestal is a key, but not just in a physical sense. We must understand the story to unlock the next step. Minna traced the carvings, translating slowly. It says that the tomb tests both mind and spirit. Those who rush will fail. Those who respect the past may proceed. It is a guide, a warning, and a promise. Tariq looked around the chamber, alert to any hidden danger. We must be ready. The tomb could have traps, but it could also have treasures or knowledge waiting for us. We move carefully, and we succeed together. Arya pressed her hand against the pedestal. Feeling the smoothness of the stone beneath her fingers, she studied the symbols and realized that they matched the sequence in the murals from the previous chamber. With careful thought, she placed her tools in the corresponding depressions. The stone shifted with a low grinding sound, revealing a hidden passage beyond. The team exchanged a glance, a mixture of excitement and tension. They were now deeper than anyone had been in thousands of years. The air felt heavier, and the shadows seemed to move around them. Arya led the way, torch in hand, feeling both awe and responsibility as they walked. The walls of the maze continued to tell the story of the pharaoh. They saw images of battles, secret meetings, and ceremonies that were never recorded in history. The carvings suggested that the pharaoh had made choices that were hidden from the world, alliances and actions that could have changed the course of history. This tomb is more than treasure, Arya said softly. It is a record, a story that no one else was allowed to see, and we are here to uncover it. The passages twisted again, leading to a small chamber with a high ceiling. In the center was a large stone door, more elaborate than any they had seen before. Symbols covered every inch, showing guardians, keys, and figures that seemed to watch them. Arya felt a shiver run through her. This is the heart of the maze, she said. Beyond this door lies the secret the pharaoh protected. We must be ready for anything. Minna nodded. The inscriptions warn of danger, but also of knowledge. We must be careful, respectful, and wise. Only then can we proceed. Tariq adjusted his staff. We moved together, step by step. The tomb is old, and it is clever, but we are prepared, and we will see this through. Arya took a deep breath, feeling both fear and excitement. The labyrinth of the crypt had tested their courage, patience, and skill. They had solved puzzles, navigated passages, and interpreted ancient symbols. Now, at the center of the maze, they were ready to face whatever lay behind the stone door. The team gathered together, lamps held high, and prepared to open the next chamber. The tomb seemed to hold its breath, waiting for them to uncover the secret that had been hidden for thousands of years. Arya felt a quiet thrill. History was alive. Here, and the story of the sealed crypt was only beginning to reveal itself. The chamber beyond the labyrinth was vast, larger than anything Arya had expected. Its walls stretched high into darkness, covered with murals that glimmered faintly under the light of their lamps. The air was cooler here, heavier, almost as if the room itself carried a warning. In the center stood a massive statue of a guardian, carved from black stone that shimmered in the torchlight. Its eyes, deep and hollow, seemed to follow every movement. The pedestal beneath it held a scroll, carefully preserved despite the passage of thousands of years. Arya approached the statue with caution. Her heart pounded in her chest as she studied the carvings. The guardian's posture was commanding, with one hand raised as if to halt intruders and the other holding a long staff. Symbols covered every inch of the stone, telling a story that Arya could only partially understand at first glance. Minna knelt beside the pedestal and gently unrolled the scroll. Her eyes widened as she began reading aloud. This scroll speaks of the pharaoh's secret, a truth that was hidden to protect his kingdom. It says that those who disturb the tomb may face danger, and only those with courage, wisdom, and respect will uncover the truth without harm. Tariq tightened his grip on his staff, his eyes scanning the chamber for any hidden threats. This is a warning, he said. The pharaoh did not want his secret revealed easily. The tomb is protected in many ways. We must be careful and pay attention to every detail. Arya nodded. We expected challenges, but this is more than I imagined. The tomb is alive with its purpose. It wants to test us. Minna continued translating the scroll. It says that the pharaoh made choices in his life that were not recorded in history. These choices, if revealed, could change how people remember him. The tomb is designed to protect that truth, and anyone who enters must prove they are worthy of learning it. Arya felt a shiver run down her spine. She had anticipated uncovering treasure or ancient artifacts, but this was different. This was knowledge hidden for centuries, waiting to be discovered by those who were brave and wise enough. The team studied the chamber carefully. Symbols and murals lined the walls, depicting scenes of ceremonies, battles, and secret meetings. Some figures were human, while others were cloaked or masked, their identities unknown. Every detail seemed deliberate, a carefully constructed message left by the pharaoh. "This is incredible," Arya said quietly. "We are seeing history that was meant to be hidden. Every symbol, every carving tells a part of the story." The pharaoh trusted very few people, and this chamber is proof of that trust. Tariq stepped closer to the statue, examining its base. There may be mechanisms or traps here. The pharaoh would have designed this chamber to protect his secret. "We should look for hidden switches, pressure plates, or other signs of caution." Minna nodded. "Yes, the scroll also mentions challenges. These are tests, not just of courage, but of intelligence." The pharaoh wanted to make sure only those who understood his intentions could proceed. Arya examined the murals more closely. She noticed patterns in the carvings that seemed to correspond with symbols on the scroll. Some images showed figures presenting objects to the pharaoh, while others depicted guardians placing seals on doors and chambers. She realized that the secret was not only protected by the tomb's physical construction, but also by the story itself. "This is more than a tomb," Arya said. "It is a puzzle, a lesson, and a warning." The pharaoh wanted anyone who entered to understand the consequences of uncovering his secret. "We must proceed carefully and respect the history we are stepping into." Tariq ran his fingers along the base of the statue, testing for hidden mechanisms. "The tomb is designed to react," he said. "The guardian may symbolize that the secret is protected, but there could be more physical traps we cannot see. We need to move cautiously." Arya knelt beside the pedestal and examined the scroll again. She noticed small symbols etched into the edges, forming a sequence. "These symbols match the murals on the walls," she said. "It is a guide, showing the correct path through the chamber. If we follow it, we may avoid the dangers and reach the next step safely." Minna studied the walls carefully. "The pharaoh left instructions in his carvings," she said. "They are not obvious, but if we pay attention, we can understand them." The tomb rewards patience and observation. The team began to follow the sequence of symbols, moving slowly through the chamber. Every step was deliberate, every gesture careful. Arya traced the lines on the walls with her fingers, confirming the path, while Minna translated the inscriptions aloud. Tariq stayed alert, watching for any signs of movement or danger as they progressed. They noticed small chambers branching off the main room. Each contained artifacts, some ceremonial, some ordinary, but all carefully preserved. Arya examined them with reverence, understanding that these objects were part of the story. The pharaoh had hidden clues and reminders of his life throughout the tomb, and each piece was essential to uncovering the truth. Hours passed as they navigated the chamber. The symbols led them to a small doorway at the far end, hidden behind a carved screen. The carvings on the screen were intricate, depicting guardians holding keys and watching over a treasure. Arya realized that this was the heart of the pharaoh's protection. Beyond this doorway lay the secret he had guarded for centuries. Tariq stepped forward and carefully pushed the screen aside. Dust rose into the air, and a faint breeze swept through the chamber. The doorway revealed a passage leading downward, deeper into the tomb. The air was cooler, heavier, and carried a sense of anticipation. Arya held her lamp high and led the way. "We are ready," she said. "The pharaoh's secret is ahead. We must be careful, respectful, and brave." Minna followed, whispering translations of the symbols along the walls. The scroll spoke of courage, wisdom, and respect. Those who fail these tests may face danger. We must stay focused. Tariq brought up the rear, scanning the chamber for any traps or hidden dangers. "The tomb is ancient, but it is clever. The pharaoh designed every detail. We must not underestimate it. As they descended, the walls narrowed, and the light from their lamps reflected off faint carvings of guardians and strange creatures. The passage twisted and turned, guiding them deeper into the heart of the tomb. Arya felt a mixture of excitement and caution. Every step brought them closer to the pharaoh's secret, but also closer to the unknown. Finally, they reached a larger chamber, the ceiling arched high above, and in the center stood a massive sarcophagus, covered in gold and inscriptions. Symbols of guardians, keys, and hidden knowledge surrounded it. Arya felt her heart race. This was the chamber the pharaoh had built to protect his secret. Mina translated the inscriptions carefully. It says that the pharaoh's secret is not treasure, but truth. It is something that could change how history remembers him. Only those who are worthy may see it without harm. Arya looked at her companions. We have come this far, and we are ready. The pharaoh trusted us enough to reach this point. Now we must uncover the secret he protected for centuries. Tariq nodded, gripping his staff tightly. We move together, step by step, with respect and care. The tomb may test us further, but we are prepared. The team gathered before the sarcophagus, lamps held high, ready to face the secret of the pharaoh. The chamber was silent except for the faint echo of their breathing. The guardian statues seemed to watch them, as if judging their courage, wisdom, and respect. Arya took a deep breath and touched the edge of the sarcophagus. The pharaoh's secret was close, hidden for thousands of years, waiting for those who were brave enough to uncover it. The chamber was silent, filled only with the faint flicker of their lamps. The massive sarcophagus stood at the center, its golden surface reflecting the light in shimmering patterns. Arya's heart raced. They had navigated the maze, survived the challenges, and followed the pharaoh's instructions with patience and care. Now, the moment had come. The pharaoh's secret lay before them. Arya stepped closer and carefully examined the inscriptions. They were unlike anything she had seen before. The symbols depicted the pharaoh not only as a ruler, but as a man who had made choices in shadows, decisions that the world had never recorded. Mina leaned over, tracing the carvings with her fingers. These symbols tell a story, she whispered. The pharaoh made a secret alliance with a distant kingdom. He kept it hidden because it could have been seen as a betrayal. His people would never have accepted it, but it was meant to protect his kingdom and ensure peace. Arya felt a shiver run through her. This was more than treasure or artifacts. This was history hidden for centuries, a story that could change the way the pharaoh was remembered. She reached for the edge of the sarcophagus, her hands trembling slightly. Look at this, Mina said, pointing to another set of carvings. It shows the consequences. There were betrayals, secret missions, and lives lost to protect the secret. The pharaoh's decisions were not simple. They carried weight beyond what we can imagine. Tariq stepped closer, his eyes scanning the chamber. The tomb itself is a warning, he said. The pharaoh wanted to make sure only those who were careful, brave, and wise could see this truth. He protected it with puzzles, traps, and tests. Arya nodded. We respected the tomb, and it has allowed us to reach this point. Now we have to understand the secret fully. We must be careful with what we do next. The team carefully opened the sarcophagus. The lid moved slowly, revealing a hidden compartment inside. There were scrolls, sealed boxes, and delicate objects that appeared ceremonial. Arya gently lifted a scroll and unrolled it, revealing detailed records written in precise hieroglyphs. She could hardly believe the level of preservation. Mina studied the scroll and began translating. These are documents of the pharaoh's private decisions. They show the negotiations he made with a rival kingdom, agreements to share resources and avoid war. The alliance was secret because revealing it could have caused distrust or rebellion within his own people. The pharaoh sacrificed his reputation for the safety of his kingdom. Arya's eyes widened. So the pharaoh was not just a ruler. He was a protector, making choices that history never saw. This secret could change the way we understand his reign. Tariq carefully examined the other objects in the compartment. There were ceremonial items, gifts from foreign lands, and symbols of the alliance. Each piece told a part of the story. showing the care the pharaoh took to protect both his people and the secret. "This is incredible," Arya said softly. "The tomb was not built for wealth alone. It was built to safeguard truth, to protect a history that could have been lost forever. We are witnessing the life of a pharaoh in a way no one has before." Mina traced the carvings on one of the scrolls. The pharaoh also documented the consequences of revealing the secret. He knew that some who sought it might be harmed or face danger. That is why the tomb is full of challenges and tests. It was a protection, not just a barrier. Arya looked around the chamber, absorbing the story. Every detail mattered. The murals, the guardians, the puzzles, and the inscriptions all were part of a plan to keep history safe. The pharaoh had carefully designed the tomb to ensure that only those who were respectful, wise, and brave could uncover the truth. "This is not just a discovery," Arya said. "It is a responsibility. We have learned what the pharaoh wanted to protect. We must honor his intentions and share this knowledge wisely." Tariq nodded. "We should document everything carefully. The world will want to know, but we must do it in a way that respects the pharaoh's legacy and the tomb itself." Arya carefully rolled the scrolls back and began taking notes. She sketched the objects, the symbols, and the murals, making sure every detail was recorded. Mina assisted, translating more inscriptions and ensuring that the story of the secret alliance was accurate. Tariq moved around the chamber, examining the walls for hidden compartments or additional clues. As they worked, Arya realized the full impact of the discovery. This secret had been hidden for thousands of years, yet it was preserved perfectly. The pharaoh's careful planning, wisdom, and foresight had allowed them to witness his private history without disturbing the tomb's integrity. It was a delicate balance between revelation and protection. Hours passed as they documented the chamber. Arya felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had uncovered a secret that would change the understanding of the pharaoh's reign. Yet, they also felt the weight of responsibility. The tomb had tested them, and now they had been granted access to its deepest truth. Mina spoke softly. The pharaoh's decisions were not simple. He acted with courage and foresight. The secret shows that history is more complex than we often realize. We must share it carefully, with respect for the people and events involved. Arya nodded. "We will. We owe that to him, to history, and to ourselves. This tomb has given us knowledge, but it also reminds us that some truths must be treated with care. History is alive here, and we are part of it now." Tariq looked around the chamber one last time. "We have what we need. The secret is safe in our hands, and we have learned its lessons. But the tomb is not finished with us yet. We must leave carefully and honor the pharaoh's protections." Arya carefully closed the sarcophagus and secured the scrolls in protective containers. She took one last look at the chamber, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and respect. The pharaoh's secret had been preserved for thousands of years, and now it would finally be shared. Safely and wisely. As they prepared to leave, Arya felt a quiet thrill. They had faced challenges, solved puzzles, and navigated a labyrinth designed to test their courage and wisdom. They had uncovered a secret that had been hidden for centuries. The pharaoh's story was no longer lost to time, stepping back into the passage. Arya led the team with care. Every step was deliberate, every movement respectful of the tomb's history. The pharaoh's legacy was now in their hands, and they would honor it as they made their way back to the world above. For the first time, Arya truly understood the purpose of the tomb. It was not built for wealth, but for truth. It was a guardian of history, a protector of knowledge, and a reminder that courage, patience, and respect could reveal the deepest secrets of the past. The chamber still held a quiet glow from their lamps as Arya and her team prepared to leave. The pharaoh's secret had been uncovered, carefully documented, and preserved. But the tomb was far from finished with them. Every corridor, every twist, and the labyrinth seemed to echo with the ancient warnings. The air was heavy, and Arya felt a subtle shift, as if the walls themselves were testing them one last time. Tariq stepped forward first, carefully scanning the floor and walls. "We have to be alert," he said. "The tomb may react to the discovery we made." There could be hidden traps, falling stones, or passages that close behind us. We need to move slowly and stay together, Arya nodded. She had anticipated challenges on the way in, but the thought of navigating out with the same caution was a different kind of pressure. Minna followed closely, holding her lamp high and translating the inscriptions along the walls as they retraced their steps. Each symbol seemed to pulse with meaning, reminding them of the warnings and lessons the pharaoh had left behind. As they entered the narrow passage leading back toward the first chamber, the walls seemed to hum with energy. Dust shifted and small stones fell, startling the team. Stay calm, Arya whispered. We know the path. Focus on the symbols and move carefully. The first challenge came quickly. A section of the floor had loosened over the centuries. Hidden pits were partially covered by sand and debris, waiting to trap an unwary step. Tariq tested each step before the others followed. Watch your footing, he said. One wrong move and we could fall. Arya moved carefully, her eyes scanning for depressions and cracks. Minna followed, tracing the carvings on the walls for guidance. The murals depicted guardians watching over doors and passages. And Arya realized that these images were not just decoration. They were instructions, reminders to move wisely and respect the tomb's protections. Hours passed as they navigated the maze, retracing their steps through the labyrinth. Each turn brought new challenges. Loose stones, narrow corridors, and shifting sand slowed their progress. The tomb seemed almost alive, testing their courage and determination at every step. At one point, they reached a chamber they had passed earlier. The murals here were darker, depicting battles, betrayals, and shadowy figures. Arya felt a chill as she traced the images with her fingers. This part of the tomb is a reminder. She said, the pharaoh's secret was not meant to be easy to uncover. We must respect his design as we leave. Minna studied the inscriptions carefully. These symbols warn that haste can be dangerous. She said, the tomb may punish those who rush or ignore the lessons it provides. We must continue slowly and thoughtfully. Tariq led them through a narrow corridor, testing the walls for hidden mechanisms. Suddenly, a section of the wall shifted, revealing a small trapdoor that had been triggered by their movement. A puff of dust rose into the air, and Arya instinctively stepped back. Careful, she whispered. The tomb is alert. We cannot rush. They continued, moving through the twisting passages with renewed caution. The deeper chambers had given them insight, but the tomb's warnings reminded them that every secret had a cost. Each step required thought, attention, and respect. Arya felt a growing sense of responsibility. They had seen the pharaoh's truth, and now it was their duty to exit safely without disturbing the tomb's balance. As they approached the first chamber where the massive guardian statue stood, Arya noticed a faint vibration under her feet. The wall seemed to pulse with energy, and small stones shifted. We must move carefully, she said. The tomb reacts to our presence. It is reminding us to respect it even as we leave. Tariq nodded, adjusting his grip on the staff. We have come this far. We just need to follow the path we know and avoid unnecessary risks. They reached the chamber with the guardian statue and scroll. The symbols on the walls seemed to glow faintly in the lamplight, guiding them along the safe path. Arya led the team slowly, following the inscriptions that had helped them enter safely. They moved as a unit, each step deliberate and careful. When they reached the narrow spiral passage that led back toward the second chamber, a small collapse blocked part of the corridor. Dust filled the air, and a faint sound of grinding stone echoed through the passage. We have to find a way around it, Arya said, scanning the walls for a side passage or alternate route. Minna pointed to a faint depression in the wall, hidden by shadows. This may be a hidden exit, she said. The pharaoh designed the tomb with alternate paths for safety. We can use this to bypass the collapse. Tariq tested the passage first. Moving slowly and carefully, the wall gave way just enough to allow the team to pass through. One by one, they squeezed through, careful not to disturb the stones. When they were all safely on the other side, they breathed a quiet sigh of relief. The passages narrowed again as they retraced their steps, but the team remained focused. The labyrinth that had challenged them on the way and now challenged them with the same intensity. On the way out, every symbol, every carving, every shadow demanded attention. Arya felt a mixture of fatigue and exhilaration. They were close to the exit, yet the tomb reminded them that even small mistakes could have consequences. Finally, they reached the chamber where the massive stone door had been partially opened. The sunlight from outside filtered faintly into the passage, giving them hope. Tariq tested the door first, ensuring it could be opened safely. Arya and Minna followed, careful not to disturb the ancient stone. With steady hands, they pushed the door open fully. The air from the desert rushed in, warm and dry, carrying the scent of sand and sunlight. They had made it. The tomb's labyrinth, its puzzles, its warnings, and its tests had all been navigated successfully. The pharaoh's secret was safely documented, and the team had survived the final challenges of the crypt outside. The desert stretched endlessly before them. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden light across the dunes. Arya felt a deep sense of relief and accomplishment. They had faced the unknown, uncovered history, and respected the legacy of a ruler long gone. Tariq looked at the tomb one last time. The pharaoh designed this crypt carefully, he said. It was more than a tomb. It was a challenge, a story, and a protector of truth. We have honored it by following its rules. Minna nodded, holding her notes and the documented scrolls. We have recorded the secret, but we also respect it. History is preserved, and the pharaoh's story will be told correctly. Arya smiled, feeling the weight of the adventure lift from her shoulders. We did it. We faced the tomb's tests, uncovered the secret, and survived. This is a moment we will never forget. As they packed their equipment and prepared to return to civilization, Arya glanced back at the entrance to the crypt. The massive stone door seemed to watch them, a silent guardian of the past. She knew that the tomb's secrets were safe, preserved both in history and in the careful respect of those who had uncovered them. Walking across the dunes toward their camp, the team felt a quiet pride. They had faced challenges, solved puzzles, and navigated dangers with intelligence and courage. The pharaoh's secret had been revealed, but more importantly, it had been treated with care. Arya paused, looking at the setting sun. The desert stretched endlessly, mysterious and alive. She thought of the crypt, the labyrinth, and the hidden chambers. The adventure had tested them in every way, but it had also reminded them why they loved history. Each discovery was a window into the past, a connection to people and events long gone, but never forgotten. As night fell and stars filled the sky, the team made camp near the edge of the desert. They were exhausted but exhilarated, carrying the story of the pharaoh's secret with them. The journey back would be long, but the memory of the tomb, its challenges, and its mysteries would remain forever. Arya smiled as she looked at her companions. They had uncovered history together, survived the tomb's trials, and preserved the secret that had waited thousands of years to be revealed. The adventure was ending, but the story of the sealed crypt and its pharaoh would continue to inspire anyone who heard it. The desert air was cooler as Arya, Tariq, and Minna packed their remaining equipment. The sun had disappeared behind the distant dunes, leaving a sky full of stars that seemed to sparkle with quiet secrets. For the first time since entering the tomb, Arya allowed herself to feel the full weight of what they had accomplished. They had uncovered a secret that had been hidden for thousands of years, preserved by the pharaoh's wisdom and the careful design of the crypt. Can you believe it? Minna asked, holding the scrolls close. All of this history, safely documented. People will finally know the truth. Tariq smiled, brushing sand from his boots. We faced the tomb's challenges and respected them. That is why we succeeded. Many would have rushed in or tried to take treasures without understanding. The pharaoh would not have allowed that. Arya nodded. She had always loved history, but this adventure had shown her more than any book ever could. History was alive. In these tombs, and each symbol, each carving, each hidden passage carried a message from the past. Their job was not just to uncover it, but to respect it. As they began walking back toward their camp, Arya felt a mixture of pride and humility. The tomb had tested them physically and mentally. It had forced them to work together, to trust each other, and to pay attention to details that could have been easily overlooked. They had learned patience, careful observation, and respect for ancient knowledge. By the time they reached the camp, their team of local guides and assistants had prepared a simple meal. Over a small fire, the warm light and the smell of cooking food were a comfort after the cold, quiet, and dusty passages of the crypt. Arya sat down, feeling the exhaustion in her legs and the tension in her shoulders slowly melt away. Minna looked at the scrolls again. "Tomorrow, we begin the journey back to the city," she said. "Once the documents are verified, historians and scholars will study them. The pharaoh's story will finally be told accurately." Arya nodded, "And it will inspire others. People will see that history is not just about artifacts or gold. It is about understanding the lives and choices of those who came before us, and about respecting the legacy they left behind." Tariq joined them by the fire. "The tomb will remain," he said. "The crypt is sealed once more, guarding its final secrets. Our part is done. We have done what the pharaoh intended. We have learned and preserved, without disturbing the balance." As night deepened, Arya looked up at the stars. She remembered the moments inside the tomb, the hidden chambers, the guardian statues, the symbols glowing in the lamplight, and the thrill of uncovering a secret that had waited thousands of years to be discovered. Each memory was vivid, a story in itself. She thought about the pharaoh who had designed the crypt so carefully. He had been a ruler who understood the power of history, the danger of greed, and the importance of preserving knowledge. His secret was not meant to be taken lightly. And now, Arya realized it was their responsibility to share it wisely. The next morning, the team began the journey back across the desert. Camels carried the heavier equipment, and guides led the way through familiar dunes. The journey was long, but the mood was light. They shared stories, laughed quietly, and reflected on the adventure they had completed together. Arya felt a sense of connection with history unlike anything she had experienced before. Every step through the desert was a reminder that they were part of a continuum. The pharaoh's world and their world were separated by thousands of years. Yet the story of the tomb linked them together. When they finally reached the edge of the city, the team was greeted by fellow historians, journalists, and local officials eager to hear about the discovery. Minna carefully presented the documented scrolls, explaining the inscriptions and the careful methods they had used to navigate the tomb. Tariq described the challenges of the labyrinth, emphasizing the importance of patience, observation, and respect for the pharaoh's design. Arya spoke last, her voice calm but filled with passion. "We have uncovered a secret that has waited thousands of years to be revealed. But this is not just about discovery. It is about understanding, respecting, and preserving history. The pharaoh's story is now a part of our world, and it will teach future generations about wisdom, courage, and the responsibility that comes with knowledge." The city's historians listened intently. They were amazed not only by the discovery itself but by the care and integrity with which the team had conducted their work. The secret had been revealed, but in a way that honored the pharaoh and his legacy. In the weeks that followed, the team's discovery made headlines. Scholars and experts studied the inscriptions, sharing insights with the public. The pharaoh's story became widely known, and museums displayed the documentation and images of the crypt, ensuring that people could learn from it without disturbing the tomb. Arya and her team returned to their everyday lives, but the experience had changed them. They carried with them the lessons of the crypt, that history is fragile, that knowledge carries responsibility, and that courage must always be guided by respect and wisdom. One evening, as Arya walked through the city market, she noticed children playing near a statue of a pharaoh. She smiled, thinking about how the story of the crypt would inspire curiosity and wonder for generations. The adventure had ended, but its impact would continue far beyond the desert sands. She remembered the moment the tomb had seemed alive, the hum of ancient energy, the careful tests that had challenged them at every step. The pharaoh's secret had been preserved, and in preserving it, they had honored history itself. Arya felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that they had done exactly what was needed, learned, preserved, and respected. The sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the streets. Arya, Tariq, and Minna gathered once more, reflecting on the journey that had changed their lives. "We were lucky," Tariq said, "and careful. That is why we survived and succeeded." Minna nodded. "But luck alone would not have been enough. We respected the tomb, understood the symbols, and worked together. That is what made the difference." Arya smiled, looking at her companions. "And now the story belongs to the world. The Pharaoh's secret is no longer hidden, yet it remains protected by the lessons we learned. That is the greatest discovery of all." As night fell completely, the team parted ways for rest. Each of them carried the story of the sealed crypt, the labyrinth of challenges, and the pharaoh who had hidden a secret for centuries. They knew that their names would be remembered alongside the discovery, but more importantly, the pharaoh's story would be remembered, taught, and respected. Arya paused for one last glance at the city skyline, feeling the warmth of the evening air. The adventure had ended, but the echoes of the crypt, its wisdom, and its lessons would remain with her forever. The sealed crypt had guarded a pharaoh's darkest secret for thousands of years, and now, through care, courage, and respect, that secret had become part of history for all to learn from. And so, the story concluded not with the taking of treasures, but with understanding and reverence. History had been revealed, preserved, and honored, proving that the greatest discoveries were not those made for wealth or fame, but those made for knowledge, respect, and truth.